Recorded live with little or no editing, it's Defense Up. I'm Run 7. How you doing? Today is a Defense Up war video featuring Elcott. And no, he did not leave in last season's Room Rules teams. He knows about the new changes, which is a little bit more defensively minded because your offensive characters don't get that 20% boost to stats anymore, or at least not for the time being. That may actually get changed depending on how the community feels about it, so stay tuned for more information on that one. However, the new Warriors don't get their buffs, but Elcott is saying that his Room 1 is getting defensive victories, and the rule is if it's working, don't change it. So here's what we're gonna do. By the way, we grade on 5 different criteria. It's who you're using, their placement, their power levels, their ISOs, and what kind of mood I'm in. We did have Juicy and Strategy Shiro come in and help me go over these along with chat. As usual, you can come find me on Twitch if you want to be a part of that conversation. No, I am not accepting applicants for Defense Up anymore. The list is just too long right now, so we're closing that down until we work through that list. It's to the point where I'm almost 2 seasons out on that list. Anyway, room number 1. This is not an exciting team. This is a C at best. The only reason we're letting Elcott leave this in is because he says it's working for some strange reason. But what we definitely need to do is get Captain America off of this team because he's super useful on that out-of-time comp. Even the out-of-time 4-piece works wonders on a few things in war these days. So we're going to replace Captain America with a Gwen or a Gwenpool from the new Warriors. Might as well throw her in there. If you want to, we could get rid of Chavez for another character of your choosing, but that changes the whole dynamic of what this is doing, and it may not even be worth keeping the team at all. And at that point, it might be just scrap the whole team. So let's get Captain America out of here, and I could give it a little bit better grade than the C tier team that this is right now. In fact, we used to throw Chavez in on this team a long time ago, and it was kind of a cutting edge war meta back in the day. All right, let me get my mouse over here and get these things working like they're supposed to be. Okay, this is the Cabal team with Vulture, and the problem with this team is that Vulture's on it. Vulture's super useful for offense, so we want to reserve Vulture for that. And we're going to take Vulture out and put in Emma or Zemo or Kang. You just want a villain who's going to crit fast. Doesn't actually have to be a villain, but you want somebody who's going to crit fast to get the Cabal team going. And Zemo goes great. Emma slows your opponents down, of course, and of course Kang is Kang and works wonders here. For me, this is probably an A- team. The only thing that's wrong with it is that Vulture is too good, and so we're going to pull him out of here. I mean, this works great. It's just that we want to reserve Vulture for offense, whether it be on a superior 6 comp or not. Up next is going to be the Heroes for Hire team with Quicksilver in it. There's lots of versions of Heroes for Hire with your choice of a 5th filling in for Iron Fist. This is one of them. It works fine. It's a filler team. It's nothing great. Everything right here is done right as far as the ISOs are concerned. So we're going to give this a boring A and move on into room number 4, which is a newer team, obviously. A fantastically powerful team that is used everywhere. And the only thing I want done with this team is I want it built bigger. I think we can go ISO 5 across the board. Strategist Shiro likes to put Pav in front just because he thinks Pav is really pretty and wants to see him in front. There's really no reason to change your placement here. It's going to be just as effective no matter what you do. This is a fantastic team, really good build. I'm going to go ahead and give it an A right now, but it does need a little bit touching up. If you're not hurting in the ISOs, take them all to ISO 5. All right, in room number 5 is the Mercs for Money, and Dakin is too small, so this room gets a D. It's not going to work. We need this team for offense. If Dakin was 7 red stars, we could think about throwing this team in on defense, but it's a powerful offensive tool. It works just about everywhere, and you could use maybe like a Logan separate from this team if you really wanted to, or throw Deathpool someplace else if you really wanted to. But mostly this team just works well on offense, so let's pull it out of here where it won't get trounced because of its low build. All right, and we're going to come back to things that we can fill in. We've got a list of filler teams that Elcott may want to use. In room number 6, we have an Asgardian team, and what we're thinking about doing is we're moving Gwenpool back to room 1. Phoenix does nothing for this team. She's detrimental to it, if anything, really opening it up to an Eternals composition. And instead, what we're gonna do is we're gonna switch it into hero Asgardians like Thor and Mighty Thor to get a little bit more synergy in here. Now that's still opening it up to the Eternals composition that can get a kill off the first and, double tap this and just blow this team away. And if you are not wanting to draw Eternals out, then you could try a Dormammu with Loki, which is much more rugged versus that Eternal composition, but that also opens you up to the War Dogs. Now the War Dogs are a little bit older. If you're not seeing many War Dogs come in where you're operating in war, then it's fine. I happen to have a War Dogs, but I'm not really a war person. I just happen to get that bad lane in the Greek raids, which are no longer there, but whatever. The War Dogs work against the Doom with Loki. The Loki does change that speed up, and it can make it kind of tricky where Vol falls under stealth, and then you're having trouble with targeting and stuff like that. But I think that's way better than a Phoenix in here, and much better than the Gwenpool, which we need for another position. So for me, oh wow, it's all strikers and 1 raider in here too. I just noticed that. For me, I think we want to change some things, like change those ISOs. I'd like Beta Ray as maybe a raider in here. Vol needs to stay as a striker. I think Valkyrie could be a lot of different things. I don't think it's going to matter with striker. She's just kind of there to make sure that the team gets revived and put those war stats on them. And then your Thor and Mighty Thor are either going to be raiders or strikers. Really doesn't matter. This is just a team that's going to soak up what you want it to soak up. So let's get off of this and move on to room number 7, which is the Extreme with Rogue. This is a fine build. Works great. I think everything's fine here. You could make Forge a healer. Some people like him as a striker, so I'm not going to dock it for that. I don't know if your Nightcrawler needs to be a skirmisher at this point. I think he's going to have the focus to do what he needs to do, so you could try out some other things, like maybe Raider for some more crit damage or something. Doesn't have to happen. I think everything that's going on here is fine. There's just some other choices you could use for ISOs if you'd like to try out some stuff, like maybe a striker on the Rogue. Just remember, don't get too many strikers. You need people putting out those vulnerables. But this team gets an A, and we're going to move on to room number 8. Here is a team that absolutely has to be pulled for offense. The Superior 6 can easily be built by Undying or Underworld. And those are 2 teams that your opponents would absolutely love to sacrifice to take out your Superior 6. Your Superior 6 is at the top of the meta right now and can take out a lot of amazing teams. And so we want them on offense 100%. So for me, this is an absolute fail. I'm going to give this team an F. Not because it's a bad team, but because it is so incredibly wasteful. Let's pull this for offense. In room number 9, we have an SD with a absorbing man with the taunt out there. It's not super exciting, but I guess it's okay. Something that we could do to improve on this is we could either swap out absorbing man for a Chavez speeding this team up, or, and Elcott didn't want to do this because Elcott does not want to build the P-Force team, but you could take Photon out and replace Photon, with somebody else. I forget who else we want to do. Oh, like a Doctor Strange or something. But you can pull Photon out of here and build that P-Force team. If you want to build P-Force, it needs to have Photon built big. It needs to have Spider-Woman built pretty big. And then the rest of them can be like gear tier 14, maybe gear tier 15. And that's going to be big enough to get the job done with that. It's really Photon doing damage, Spider-Woman doing control features, and your Nico throwing out Disrupt, which she has a bunch of her focus built into her kit and doesn't need to be built big. Of course, that Jessica Jones giving the team energy, which allows them to do a lot of things. It's a great offensive tool, and that's why I think Photon should be pulled from this. But Elcott doesn't want to do that. Another way that we could go is going to be combining the SD 3-piece with Super Skrull and Black Knight. And we'll talk about that in a minute. Actually, we're going to talk about that right now because this is the room 10, right? We've got Black Knight and Super Skrull in here with Doom and BTS and Lizard. Now, Lizard is an amazing offensive tool, especially when you're going into Hero Spider-Verse, because he goes so fast, stripping off their positive effects, a great weapon against the Secret or the Spider Society. And so we want to pull Lizard for offense. He might go with the Superior 6 team, or he might just be used as a plug-and-play character, but he's super valuable. Don't waste him in here when you could just be putting in some other sort of a pre-taunt in here instead. Big Time Spider-Man is going to make up one of our filler defenses. You're going to place Big Time Spider-Man in the middle, and you're going to put teeny little Gear Tier 12 infestation teams. Now, if this pulls a trash 6 team, that's the not Superior 6 team, then they run a risk of hitting the Big Time Spider-Man twice, and he's just going to delete that team, and it's fantastic. However, if they come in with a full Superior 6, that's also a win, because it's a trash team that just pulled one of the best offensive tools in War right now. So either way, that's a great trap to put down for your opponent. You don't have to build the infestation team all that big. And it works really well with those Gear Tier 12 members. Just put Big Time in the middle. Another way you could go with this, again, we talked about Secret Defenders 3-piece in here with Sus and Black Knight. That's a powerful defense. Or we could go Tangled Web with Chavez in here to replace Lizard, Big Time Spider-Man, and Doom. You'd have the Tangled Web duo in the back. You'd have Chavez in the back row, and then Tangled Web duo on the left side. What you're trying to do is speed up that Spider Weaver so she gets the charges out faster. So that's where you're going to want to place your Chavez, to speed them up, to gain the speed off of that. That's another way you could go with this. Alternatively, you can use Black Knight on offense. We talked about using the 4-piece Out of Time on offense. They literally, the 4-piece, not even bringing in a 5th, just putting Captain America on an island. You can bring in that 4-piece against a New Avengers and hit auto on big punch-ups, and they'll just rip that team apart. It's amazing. It's a great tool. But if not, you can use the 5-piece team on offense as well. So there's that. Another team that we came up with as a filler for defense, since we pulled so many teams for offense, is the Hive Mind 5-piece, or you could drop Venom for Anti-Venom if you happen to have Anti-Venom built up big enough. Anti-Venom reviving symbiotes in there has some pretty decent synergy. It's an actually formidable defense. Strategist Shiro stumbles on that quite a bit in War and really gets frustrated with it. It's looking for a great counter to go up against it. So that's a great filler defense, is that Hive Mind or Hive Mind with Anti-Venom. You're looking to fill some of the gaps that we just took out of Elcott's defense. This right here is actually a pretty powerful defense and was pulling some things, but we think that we can do the same or better with different variations. And we got to make sure to have a lot of power on offense this season, because your offensive, your attacking toons, they're not getting that 20% bonus to their stats like they did in previous seasons. So those numbers that you're seeing on defense are a little bit deceiving. They're not going to play out the same way. As far as Elcott's defense goes, I think it was pretty good overall. We just needed more tools for offense and some decent ideas to replace those with. Remember, guys, if you're wanting to have your defenses fixed up, then, well, you're going to have to watch my videos, because you can't really be a part of them right now, that list just being too long. Otherwise, don't just have a good game. Be good to yourselves and others, too, and I'll see you next time. Bye.